Here is a photostat out of Time magazine. Score one for the Bible. Score one for the Bible. Fresh evidence supports the story of Joshua at the Walls of Jericho.
For centuries, skeptics claimed the Bible was a collection of myths with no grounding in reality. But that narrative is crumbling fast. From the shattered walls of Jericho proving a miraculous conquest, to inscriptions of mythical kings found in the rubble, the physical proof is undeniable. These 15 discoveries are hands down the most impressive evidence that the scriptures are historically accurate. Stick around, because we aren't just looking at rocks. We're looking at the fingerprints of the prophets themselves. It's not just about ancient history, it's about validating the foundation of faith for millions. Number 1. The Teldan Stale, the House of David Stone. For decades, scholars argued that King David was just a folk hero like King Arthur, with zero evidence outside the Bible that he ever existed. That all changed in 1993 at Teldan in northern Israel, when archaeologists found a broken fragment of a victory monument. This black basalt stone was commissioned by an Aramean king who was bragging about defeating his enemies. When the team translated the Aramaic inscription, they were shocked to see the king boast of eliminating a king of the House of David. This was the smoking gun that forced skeptics to rewrite their textbooks overnight. It proved David was a real person and the founder of a royal dynasty recognized by Israel's enemies. This finding effectively ended the minimalist school of thought that tried to erase Israel's early monarchy. It stands as an immutable witness to the historical reality of the dynasty that would eventually lead to the Messiah. Number 2. The Walls of Jericho. Everyone knows the story. Joshua fought the Battle of Jericho and the walls came tumbling down. For a long time, reports suggested that Jericho wasn't even inhabited at the time, until Dr. Bryant Wood re-examined the site with modern techniques. The excavations revealed that Jericho was heavily fortified with a double wall system that had collapsed. The fallen bricks formed a literal ramp against the retaining wall, allowing the Israelites to go straight up into the city. The physical debris tells the exact same story as the text. Scholars note that the timing of this destruction layer correlates with the end of the Late Bronze Age, exactly when Joshua entered the land. The evidence suggests a swift, divinely orchestrated event, rather than a typical, drawn-out military siege. Number 3. The Grain Jars of Jericho. There's a second layer to the Jericho discovery that is often overlooked but is equally powerful. In the burnt ruins of Jericho, archaeologists found large storage jars still filled with charred grain. This proves the siege was short, matching the biblical account of the walls falling after just 7 days. If the Israelites had besieged the city for months, the grain would have been eaten by the starving inhabitants. The fact that valuable grain was left untouched and burned in place proves the army followed the specific command to not take plunder. It highlights a level of obedience that is rare in ancient warfare, where looting was the primary motivation for soldiers. This charred grain is a silent testament to the fear of God that was present in the camp of Israel. Number 4. The Baruch Bulla. Jerusalem sits on layers of history, and sometimes the proof comes in the smallest packages. In the 1970s, a clay seal surfaced with an inscription that sent shockwaves through the biblical world. It read, "Belonging to Hezekiah, son of Neriyahu the scribe." This is Baruch, the faithful scribe mentioned repeatedly in the Bible, as the man who wrote down Jeremiah's warnings. It anchors the prophetic books in real history with real government officials. Finding the impression of his personal seal brings us face to face with the man who likely penned the original scroll of Jeremiah. It transforms a biblical name into a flesh and blood administrator who walked the streets of Jerusalem. Number 5. The Cyrus Cylinder. What most people don't realize is that even the political propaganda of foreign empires helps prove the Bible. In 1879, a clay barrel-shaped object known as the Cyrus Cylinder was discovered in the ruins of Babylon. In the text, King Cyrus boasts that he's a liberator who allows captured people to return to their homelands. This aligns perfectly with the Book of Ezra, which claims God moved Cyrus to let the Jews return to Jerusalem. The cylinder proves that the biblical writers understood the geopolitics of the 6th century BC perfectly. This policy of restoration was unheard of in the ancient world, yet it fulfilled the specific prophecy of Isaiah written over a century before Cyrus was born. It demonstrates that history itself bends to accommodate the prophetic word. Number 6. Hezekiahs Tunnel. When it comes to engineering marvels, this one takes the cake. The Bible tells us that King Hezekiah, facing a siege, channeled water underground into the city of David. Today, you can actually walk through the proof. A tunnel winding 1,750 feet through solid bedrock. The very existence of the tunnel proves the biblical account of the siege preparations is accurate. It's a tangible, dark testimony to the ingenuity of the Jewish people, protecting their city exactly as the scriptures recorded. Radiocarbon dating of organic material within the plaster confirms the tunnel was built in the late 8th century BC. This effectively silences those who claim the tunnel was from a later period, cementing it as a genuine artifact of the Assyrian crisis. Number 7. The Sylum Inscription. Inside Hezekiah's tunnel, an accidental discovery provided the voice of the workers who built it. An inscription found on the wall commemorates the moment of breakthrough when two teams of diggers met in the middle. It describes the pickaxes meeting head-on as the rock grew thinner. This inscription dates perfectly to the time of Hezekiah, around 700 BC, and validates the timeline of the Assyrian invasion. It grounds the miraculous preservation of Jerusalem in gritty, hard labor. The script style is paleographically identical to other royal inscriptions of the First Temple period. It serves as a benchmark for dating other Hebrew writings and confirms the literacy of the workers. Number 8. The Moabitete Stone, Moabitete Stale. We usually only hear the Israelite side of the story, but the Moabitete Stone gives us the enemy's perspective. Discovered in 1868, this black stone contains a victory inscription by King Mesha of Moab, who brags about throwing off the yoke of Israel. Crucially, the stone mentions Omri, king of Israel, confirming the existence of the dynasty described in 1 Kings. Even more shocking, Mesha boasts that he took the vessels of Yahweh, providing one of the earliest extra-biblical mentions of God's name. It portrays a cosmic battle between the god Chemosh and Yahweh, mirroring the spiritual warfare described in the Bible. This validates the Bible's cultural context, showing that Israel's neighbors viewed these wars as theological struggles. Number 9. The Pilate Stone. For a long time, historians questioned whether Pontius Pilate was actually the prefect of Judea, as Roman records from that era are spotty. That theory collapsed in 1961 when archaeologists at Caesarea Maritima flipped over a limestone block used as a step. On the back was a dedication inscription that clearly read, Pontius Pilatus, prefect of Judea. This placed the exact man, with the exact title, in the region at the exact time the Bible places him. It verified that the Gospels were reporting on real Roman officials with verified titles. This discovery corrects the mistaken assumption that Pilate held a different rank, aligning the physical record with the precise Greek terminology used in the Gospels. It reminds us that the trial of Jesus took place in a real courtroom under a real judge. Number 10. The Dead Sea Scrolls. This is arguably the greatest archaeological discovery of the 20th century. In 1947, a shepherd boy found ancient leather scrolls hidden in a cave near Qumran. Before this find, the oldest Hebrew manuscripts of the Old Testament were from around 900 AD. The Dead Sea Scrolls dated back a full millennium earlier, and when scholars compared them to our modern Bible, they were practically identical. This proved that the Jewish scribes had preserved the Word of God with almost superhuman precision. This consistency shatters the idea of a telephone game transmission, where the text evolved over time. It confirms that the scribal tradition was obsessed with accuracy, preserving the text letter by letter for generations. Number 11. The Kfhinn Silver Scrolls. In 1979, during an excavation of a burial cave outside Jerusalem, researchers found two tiny rolled-up strips of silver. When they finally unrolled them, they found the priestly blessing from number 624 inscribed on the surface. These scrolls date to the 7th century BC, making them the oldest biblical text ever found. This destroyed the theory that the books of Moses were written much later, proving the Torah was revered hundreds of years earlier than critics claimed. The existence of these verses on silver proves that the priestly benediction was already liturgical standard practice long before the exile. It pushes the composition of the Torah back into the earliest phases of Israel's history. Number 12. The Stepped Stone Structure, the Millow. The Bible mentions that David captured the stronghold of Zion and that Solomon built up the Millow. In the city of David, excavations have uncovered a massive stepped stone structure that serves as a huge supporting wall. Archaeologists believe this is the Millow mentioned in 2 Samuel, built to support the palace above. Finding this massive infrastructure proves that Jerusalem was a major capital city, capable of monumental architecture, not just a small village. Such a massive project would require a wealthy, centralized administration, which fits the biblical description of Solomon's reign perfectly. It refutes the notion that Jerusalem was a tribal backwater, revealing it instead as a regional powerhouse. Number 13. The Seal of King Hezekiah. In 2015, archaeology got personal again when Dr. Eilat Mazar found a stamped clay seal near the Temple Mount. The inscription read, "Belonging to Hezekiah, son of Ahaz, king of Judah," and featured royal iconography. This is the first time a seal impression of an Israelite king has ever been found in a scientific excavation. To hold this seal is to hold something that was likely pressed by the king's own ring, confirming his genealogy and royal status. The presence of the Ankh symbol indicates the cultural influence of Egypt at the time, which aligns with the political alliances Judah was forming. It captures a frozen moment in time when the king sealed a document that likely dictated the fate of the nation. Number 14. The Seal of Isaiah the Prophet. The story gets even better. Just 10 feet away from the king's seal, Dr. Mazar found another clay seal reading Yeshayahu, Isaiah. In the Bible, King Hezekiah and the prophet Isaiah are inseparable partners who work together to save Jerusalem. Finding the seal of the prophet lying next to the seal of the king is the archaeological equivalent of finding their business cards on the same desk. It suggests that the relationship described in the Book of Kings was a historical reality. This close proximity implies that the prophet had direct access to the royal court, just as the scriptures describe his frequent audiences with the king. It provides a spatial confirmation of the intimate political and spiritual partnership that saved the city. Number 15. The Deir Allah Inscription, the Balum Text. Finally, we have the mysterious prophet Balum, who was hired to curse Israel. In 1967, inside a pagan temple in Jordan, archaeologists found a plaster wall inscription titled "The Admonitions of Balum, Son of Beor." The text relates a vision that Balum received from the gods foretelling doom. The fact that a pagan temple had an inscription about him proves Balum was a famous religious figure in the ancient Near East, exactly as the Bible portrays him. The text is written in a dialect that mixes Aramaic and Canaanite, showing the cross-cultural reach of this famous seer. It serves as independent external verification that the characters in the wilderness wanderings were well-known historical figures. Archaeology bridges the gap between the text on the page and the reality of the past. It shows us that the Bible is not a collection of fairy tales, but a record of real people and events. These discoveries stand as witnesses against the skeptics, proving the Bible is a unique and accurate document of history. But here's the thing that keeps archaeologists up at night. We've only excavated a tiny fraction of the Holy Land. The silence of the centuries is being broken, piece by piece, confirming the narrative that has shaped Western civilization. As technology improves, we can only expect more discoveries that will continue to authenticate the biblical record. Comment your thoughts below and subscribe to The Unsealed Prophecy for more deep dives into the history that matters.